Today, I'm going to show how to use PowerShell to compare and merge objects in Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2015. By the end of this video, you will have seen how to use different PowerShell commandlets for Microsoft Dynamics NAV to compare the object files and merge the object files from NAV. I will do this in 5 steps. In the first step, I will export objects as text. In the second step, I will generate the Delta files. In the third step, I will merge the Delta files. In the fourth step, I will manually handle conflicts. And in the final step, I will join and import the results. In my example, I'm going to upgrade the RTM version of Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2015 that I have customized to Cumulative Update 2. I will export all of my object files from Microsoft Dynamics NAV from my custom version, from my base version, which is NAV 2015 RTM, and from NAV 2015 Cumulative Update 2, which is the target version I want to upgrade to. I have to export all of the objects as text files. Once you have all versions involved in the compare and merge process as text files, you can use NAV PowerShell commandlets to generate Delta files. The Delta files are similar to NAV text object files, except that they only describe the differences between two different versions of objects. For example, you can generate the Delta files for differences between the old base version and your custom version, or for differences between old and new base versions. There are 2 strategies for generating the Delta files. In the first strategy, you will generate the Delta files for differences between the old base and the customized version, and apply them to the new base version. In the second strategy, you will generate the Delta files for differences between the old and new base versions and apply the deltas to the customized version. Both strategies are valid and achieve the same results, but depending on complexities of customizations, one may be simpler than the other. In my example today, I'll generate the delta between the old based and custom versions and apply them to the new base version. Let me do that. Here I have 3 folders containing text files for my customized version of NAV 2015, then original NAV 2015 objects, and finally the NAV 2015 Cumulative Update 2 objects. I will now start PowerShell and then I will enter the commandlets to compare the NAV application objects. I will specify the original path, and here I will put the path to the folder containing the original objects, then modified path folder containing the customized solution, and finally the delta path where the differences will be stored. When the commandlet completes, it shows the summary of the compare process, including how many inserted, deleted, changed, and identical objects are there, as well as how many objects failed to compare. For any differences, which is inserted, deleted, or changed objects, you get a delta file per object, each explaining the changes on that specific object. To merge the changes, you can use either of the 2 available commandlets. The first commandlet, Update NAV Application Object, takes a set of delta files and applies them to the target version and produces a result file. If there are any conflicts, it creates a conflict file for each conflicting object. When you run this commandlet, you can specify a file or a folder as the result path parameter. If you specify a file, you get a single file. If you specify a folder, you get results as a series of object files, 1 file per object. You can do the compare and update in a single step by using the Merge NAV Application Object commandlet. To this commandlet, you pass the original file path, the modified path, the target path, and the result path as parameters, and the commandlet compares and updates the objects in a single step. Both commandlets produce the same results, and both also show the summary of the process. When the same object is modified in both the custom and new base version, a conflict may occur. For example, modifying the same line of code or changing the same property will generate conflicts. The conflict files explain the nature of the conflict. You must resolve any conflicts manually. For conflicts in the code, your result file contains the conflicting blocks clearly marked. There, you must modify the code manually to resolve the conflict. For conflicts in properties, the conflict file will explain the conflict and the result file will retain the setting from the target version. Then you can manually change the file to retain the customized version setting. Finally, it's time to import the merged solution into NAV. Since the new objects are in the text format, you may only want to import the different objects, which is those objects for which you have delta files. Here I'm using PowerShell to list all of deltas. I pipe them into a regular expression that changes the extension from delta to text, and then I pipe the results to the copy item commandlet to copy only the relevant files from the result folder into a new folder. The merge process never merges the version tag. It can either retain the original or the new tag or clear the tag on the objects. To get a combined tag where necessary, you must edit the files manually. Also, you typically don't want to import files one by one. To join the object files into a single file, you can use the join NAV application object file commandlet. This commandlet takes the source path, which should include a wildcard, and the target file name, and then produces a single file containing all of the original files matching the wildcard. When the individual object files are joined together, you import that file into NAV, filter to uncompiled objects, select them all, and compile them. To wrap it up, the compare and merge process contains the following step: exporting files from all three databases as text, creating a set of deltas between base and custom base versions, merging the delta files into the new base version, resolving any conflicts between your customizations and the new changes, and joining the resulting files, importing the new file, and compiling the objects. This video has explained how to handle objects as text files, what the compare and merge process is, and how you can execute it with two different approaches, and finally how PowerShell automates this process of comparing, merging, and joining the files. To learn more about this process and supporting functionality in NAV, download the Merging Application Object Source Files white paper that you can find at this URL. Thanks for watching this video that was brought to you by cooperation between Microsoft and Platan. Please watch other videos in the How Do I series for Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2015.